Hello and welcome to Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Shafara Lakaon. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, Demeke Mekonnen, has held a wide range of discussions on refugees in Ethiopia with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. The Commissioner, Filippo Grandi, has expressed delight with Ethiopia as a close ally and as a host of thousands of refugees for decades. Kasaon Chane reports.
Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs Demeke Mekonnen addressed refugee current issues to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees UNHCR, Filippo Grandi. During the occasion, Demeke explained several issues ranging from the current situation in Tigray and on the matters related to humanitarian assistance efforts and access to aid agencies in the region to allegations of human rights abuses, particularly the Eritrean refugees that are settling in the 4 camps of the region.
We had a very productive and fruitful discussions about the current situations in the Tigray region, especially on the Eritrean refugees. Perhaps Ethiopia, one of the reputable and responsible country in hosting refugees and managing internally displaced peoples and the like. He had really his own observations, what's going on there, the current situations, the challenge, and really had a very good discussion about this matter on how to address outstanding issues and crises there. On our side, we're very much committed to address outstanding issues there, because the root cause of the crisis and the problem is clear, and our government focus and concern is on how to reorganize itself and how to restore law and order and to maintain a regular system there. Within this framework, our government focus on rehabilitation, reconstruction, and on humanitarian issues, and at the same time addressing the issues related to refugees. Based on that, we have developed a fast-track program in this regard. I think we are on track, and the discussion was very productive and fruitful.
United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi said his delegation had a very fruitful discussion with the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs on humanitarian assistance being undertaken in Tigray and the situation of Eritrean refugees. The Commissioner also accentuated that Ethiopia is a very close partner of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees and acknowledged the government of Ethiopia to hosting thousands of refugees for decades, noting his commission is committed to resolving some complicated issues related to the refugees ahead.
I had met this morning with the Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy, and I have just met with the Deputy Prime Minister, Demeke Mekonnen, and we had very productive meetings. We discussed the humanitarian situation in Tigray and how to accelerate the relief operation for the many people who are in acute need of humanitarian assistance. We also discussed the difficult situation of the Eritrean refugees. I got from the government assurances that they will continue to be protected. They've gone through a very difficult time during the military operation. I was myself in Maiaini, one of the refugee camps, and we will try to relocate them in those camps. There are still several thousand that need to be, they are dispersed. We need to reach them. And I'll give more details later at the operation, but I want to simply stress that I have come here to Addis because Ethiopia is a very close partner of my organization, of UNHCR. Ethiopia, throughout its recent history, for decades, has hosted hundreds of thousands of refugees from all neighboring countries. So it is in the name of this cooperation and long friendship that I have come here to discuss how to resolve this complicated issue There is a complicated situation in the country. I am not a political actor, so I have no judgment about that. My duty is to help the government, help its people and the refugees that it hosts. And I had constructive discussions, which will continue now for the rest of the day.
It was renowned that the UNHCR and his delegation have paid an official visit to refugee camps in Tigray and related activities in the region.
The Minister of Transport, Dagmawit Moges, says the ever-first transport policy of Ethiopia comes up with new ideas and modes of transport, including cable car and pipeline transportation. The new transport policy provides clear guidelines on how the country is going to enhance the existing transport systems, including inland water transport system. Goshu Melissa presents the story as follows.
The National Transport Policy.
Talking to Policy Matters interview at the Office of Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Minister of Transport Dagmawit Moges said the ever-first 10 years plan come up with new ideas and new modes of transportation.
The National Transport Policy, which is the first policy of our country. And this new policy come up with new ideas and with new different modes of transport, like that of the cable car, the pipeline transport.
The new transport policy provides clear guidelines to enhance the existing transport system.
It also provides a clear guideline on how we're going to enhance the existing transport system that we have in our country, including the inland water transport system, which we aspire to enhance its implementation in our 10-year perspective plan in 6 major places, including our Great Renaissance Town.
Dagmawit explained that during the past 3 years, the country has managed to formulate different kinds of organizations with the private sector and the Ethiopian diaspora living around the world.
The private sector priority and the priority that we have given for the engagement of the private sector is one of the major departures even that we have in our 10-year perspective plan. For instance, why am I saying this is the 10-year perspective plan in the transport sector alone, it requires about 3 trillion per investment for the realization of the targets that we set. So this is not something that can be done by the government alone. Unless and otherwise, the private sector comes and engage. Unless and otherwise, the private sector make a joint venture with a foreign investor. Unless and otherwise, we engage the foreign investors to come and invest in the transport infrastructure development as well as service provision.
The issue of quality in infrastructure development should not be compromised, she noted.
Now moving on, Ethiopian candidate for AU Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, Professor Hirut Woldemariam aspires to swiftly transform the continent's education system and instill Pan-Africanism among youth and children in Africa. This came during testimonial held here in Addis Ababa yesterday. Sentayo Tamrat reports.
While Ethiopia is home to the African Union and the seat for the AU Commission since its establishment, the country neither runs for nor assumed commissioner posts. But it appears that Professor Hirut Woldemariam has shown determination to change this history as she is running as Ethiopia's candidate for a Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation at the African Union after assuming 4 ministerial positions so far in her country. At a testimonial event held Monday, a number of colleagues, friends and university scholars have given testimonies on her achievements with her professional career and leadership.
She was one of the most liked, one of the most lovely advisors for her advices. I know this very well. She has been seriously concerned since our undergraduate program. She has been always seriously concerned about the deteriorating quality of education in Ethiopia. And when she assumed the ministerial position and the Moshe, I was so happy and excited to see changes, especially in the Ethiopian higher education. And I think she did all her best to transform the Ethiopian education system for the better. Her research works, even though they focus on Ethiopian languages and cultures, she is inclined to do research and to produce materials in the applied areas where linguistics is applied in sociology, in politics, in anthropology, and in technology and sciences. And some of her works, well, as I mentioned it earlier, it's the tip of an iceberg because I cannot take all the time to talk about the individual articles and books she contributed.
Professor Hirut is a hard-working, bold, fearless leader who changes challenges into opportunities, they described her. She was also highly appreciated for changing the country's higher education system in short time.
Minister of Culture and Tourism, she was a pioneer in developing a policy very relevant to film production. And the other one is the branding of tourism, land of origin. And then she also initiated the registration of the Gada culture under UNESCO Intangible Culture List. And then when she was moved again to another ministry, Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, she did one very important change in the ministry, that is opening a directorate for Ministry of Disability.
Her role in empowering women to become leaders in higher institutions has been given huge credit. She grew the engagement of women leaders in universities from 40% to 70%.
Professor Hirut, in her tenure, she has initiated and contributed towards realization of gender policies. What I feel is there are very few representatives in STEM, not only in Ethiopia but also in Africa. Actually, when you go to Scandinavia, you can't imagine there are so few female who are in higher researchers in science, in STEM in general. And actually, she worked hard to start Women in Science Day. And if you remember, it happened last year, and during that time, recognized best female researchers and best female research groups.
Expressing her gratitude for the testimonies she received, Hirut vowed to transform Africa's education system soon she got the position.
The only way to have the Africa we want to have is only through quality and Africa-relevant education. I feel that, again, I'm sorry to be bold. I feel, and I consider myself that I'm well prepared to take up that position and to lead that commission.
Many who gave their testimony for Professor Hirut believe she will win the commissioner position at the AU because she is qualified and well experienced and very well knows the African education system.
Now, a country with over 3,000 years, Ethiopia has influenced the whole world through its culture and religion. This, coupled with the historic fact that the country has never been colonized by Europeans, makes Ethiopia unique compared with other African countries. The remark was made by Assistant Professor and Instructor Dr. Jill Humphreys in an exclusive interview with English. Listen to this. Dr. Jill Humphreys is an assistant professor and part-time instructor for the University of Toledo's Africana Studies program. She is a 2019 Fulbright Specialist Scholar, former 2018 Ambassador's Distinguished Scholar for Ethiopia, and currently international faculty with the Govan Mbeki Research and Development Center at Fort Hare University in South Africa. The American scholar has traveled throughout the world, featuring over 3 decades of tour in Africa. She says Ethiopia is unique.
I have been traveling Africa for over 33 years. I started at age 22, so you can do the math there. And I would say that Ethiopia stands out to me because it's the cradle of humanity. Dinkanish, I believe the Afar refer to the origins of our species as Dinkanish, which, by the way, is a name that was given to me by Dr. Tadios, my colleague. So I would say Ethiopia, as a 3,000-year-old civilization, also has influenced the world so much through its various religions, particularly Christianity. My understanding is that Christianity was established here in the 4th century, but then Ethiopia has in fact influenced Christianity. through Orthodox Christianity, and also just, I think, just the culture. Because of the political, historical significance of Ethiopia to the black world.
She also argues that Ethiopia is central to Pan-Africanism.
Walking around Ethiopia, I see cultural practices that have been retained for thousands of years, right? Precisely because they were not colonized, precisely your country was not colonized. Young people may not understand that or realize that. And so psychologically, that plays a great role for those of us who cannot trace our ancestry because of enslavement, right? But can look to an African country and say, here's a country that not only fended off European powers, but also became the center of Pan-Africanism. Because all of the major institutions, Pan-African institutions that were established under Emperor Haile Selassie, like the Organization of African Unity, which is now the African Union, thank you, are incredible, important institutions for Africans to decide how they want to see the future and develop the future across every political area, policy area. That's important. You know, every culture or groups of people needs to be acknowledged that they have played a role in the development in the world. Africa as a continent, right, because of its enslavement and because of its colonization, has been denied. That history has been very distorted. And for those of us in the diaspora, particularly in the Americas, we don't get this other history, right, this alternative history about the significance of African cultures and civilizations and its contributions to the world.
The scholar advises Ethiopians to properly understand their rich history, unique culture, and indomitable forefathers' bravery, and pass them on to future generations.